Listen, Adam, thanks so much for taking time out to do this interview today. We're here at his home studio. Impressive. Dennisson is your current project, but I've seen you about since the early 2000s with Susie's Field, Reasons, and things like that. Do you want to tell us about what you're up to now and sort of which band or artist initially first connected with you and got you into playing an instrument and wanting to make music?
So at the moment I'm doing my own stuff with the Dennisson thing, which I've done for on and off for quite a while, but only really got into it in the last 4 or 5 years, I suppose. And since I come back I went to the UK for a few years, and I came back after my studies, and then I managed to get back into it, get some equipment, and start doing it properly. So yeah, in terms of the person that really got me picking up the guitar, because that's my main instrument. I play a bit of bass, I can play a little bit of keyboards, but nothing to write home about. But guitar's my main instrument, and it probably Eric Clapton. I listened to him back in about when did I start playing? The early 90s, I suppose, when he had a blues album out called From the Cradle. And he, of course, he had his acoustic Unplugged, the MTV Unplugged album, which is a huge album, and that really inspired me.
That one's up there with Hell Freezes Over with the Eagles, isn't it? As
Oh
the
yes,
two
yes,
go-to.
yes.
Is he your biggest influence?
In terms of playing the guitar, probably. So where would I go to from there? Probably David Gray. He's probably where I'd look to more for songwriting influences, because that was the sort of time I was listening to more and more music, sort of late 90s, early 2000s, and he was really at the forefront of that singer-songwriter genre. And
I'll dig into some of the questions I ask everyone that I interview who's done the biggest influences. That was one of my first questions. What's the best gig you've been to as an audience member? Do you have one standout gig that sticks in your mind where the sound was right, you weren't behind a pillar, you didn't have to queue for everything?
There's been some interesting ones. I went when I was in the UK. I went to watch a guy called William Fitzsimmons, who is not a particularly well known act, but he's a sort of acoustic artist.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure what to expect. I got the tickets online on his website, and then went to Manchester. It was, and we turned up, and it was in. It looked like a charities coffee shop, and so we went down the steps to this sort of. I don't know if it was affiliated to university or what, but we went downstairs, and he was just there in the corner with a drum kit and a bass player, and we were just there was no bar. It was just literally a sort of university-looking coffee shop, but it was a great performance. And I don't know whether it was an ad hoc thing that they did at the last minute or what happened, but it was memorable for that, if nothing else.
It doesn't need to be a stadium filling thing, does it?
No.
Nearly all the answers to that question have been small intimate gigs. They haven't been stadiums, which is interesting. I think with music, anything, whether it's whatever project, it's about connecting with people, isn't it? And I think you can do that much easier at a small gig. And the next question, of course, what's the best gig you've played? Do you have a standout gig that where everything clicked or it was memorable?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a few with Susie's Field. We did a few good gigs at Chambers. I mean, we recorded one, I think, once upon a time, and I wasn't feeling particularly well on that night, but it was just it all seemed to work. But I mean, the heat in that place, it was sweltering in there some nights.
I remember old Chambers. This is 2000. You used to stand near the air conditioning duct inlet. Your head was about 6 inches from. So all the smoke. This is when you could smoke.
Of course. It
went
used to be
right into that duct, about 6 inches from your head, and it was in that respect it wasn't great, but it was so much fun. It was the only venue you could get 300 people in.
Well, yeah, exactly.
In town.
But yeah, it was dirty. It was loud. It was hot, but it was
And do you do any live work at the moment, or do you have like promotional activity around?
Not so much. Not for the Dennisson stuff, but I'm thinking of doing it, but because I'm so busy with the with other things, with the P2 stuff with Matt. I'm busy enough doing that, so I like to, particularly for the summer season, we normally do 6 months full on of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gigs a week.
Yes.
And then when it stops around October, I like to take a few months off now and focus on this, focus on the family, do nothing, do little.
That's a good balance.
I think so.
I have one question which I'll still ask: favourite instrument, or do you have a favourite piece of equipment that's studio based? Do you have something that's just you connect with and just love using? We have a vast array of equipment.
There are quite a few
behind the
pieces
camera
in here.
is a stack of guitars.
Yeah, so there's all the guitars there. There's my Fender DeVille, which I love, which is U12 amp, which I've had for a long time now, since about 2002 maybe.
Yeah.
Use that I hate to record directly, and I have to use a microphone
Yeah.
on my amp. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, no, I can tell you.
Purist, I suppose. Maybe that's the Eric Clapton coming out.
But one of the questions is, do you have any weird backstage rituals or anything like that? Favourite
Backstage
socks,
rituals.
or or weird, the whole favourite drink. Some
Well,
artists
I
always
remember
say,
on when we did a tour of Ireland with the Susie's boys, and I think it was Cork we were in, and I saw these shoes in a shop. Well, they weren't really shoes; they were like furry
nice
slippers.
You're
And I
creating
just
an
thought,
image here.
yeah, I just thought I'm going to buy them and wear them on stage from now on. So I think for the rest of the tour, it was a bit funny trying to tap my pedals with them, but they were basically like really about that high, just
Nice.
full of fur.
Oh,
And
God.
I think we were on rugs as well, so that made it a little bit easier. But it was, yeah, that was my most,
I love it.
adventurous stage attire with these crazy slippers. I don't know what happened to him, sadly. I don't have them anymore.
Where are they now? Someone's got to
Exactly.
know that.
Someone must have them
Are there
somewhere.
any pictures of that?
Yeah.
We need to see
I
pictures.
know, yeah, there must be some footage somewhere.
Post usefulness without pictures. It's me. Okay, couple of last questions which are slightly more serious. Have you the best bit of advice you've been given?
Yeah, I think it's to. I remember Paul O'Keefe telling me when he was learning and younger, he just used to put the radio on and just play along to any song that came up.
Yep.
And as you said before, just to listen. I don't know, you can't really be proficient at any instrument unless you listen to other people playing that instrument.
Of course.
I mean, some people say you shouldn't listen to anyone, but I mean that's going to be very, very difficult to do. So yeah, maybe you either listen to nothing, which in this day and age is pretty much impossible, or just listen to as much as you can, and you're just you're gonna learn so much more. And also, playing is important. So I learnt that quite quickly. It's not just because we were lazy and we didn't want to rehearse. It's just a gig, you can learn 10 times more from a gig than you can from a rehearsal situation. You just can't reproduce it. So I think listening and playing as much as you can are two really good bits of advice for any, I think, for any up and coming.
That's it. It's essentially practice, isn't it? I guess if you have an instrument, practice it. But but listen. And I think reading music with dots is one tool in the box, but playing by ear is probably the biggest tool in the box you can have. You know what I mean? Along with all the other things. And I think just have loads of tools in the box.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly, yeah.
And so last kind of question is best advice you would give. We've maybe covered it, but do you have one thing that you'd say to someone who's maybe looking to play guitar or even production side of it? One thing you'd say, which was a real nugget.
It's maybe you don't need all this equipment, but it's important to have a space, I think. And a lot of people do it in their bedrooms anyway, and just have a little setup. And so I think, and it's not to get too bogged down, I suppose, in all the bells and whistles that you can, and spending all this loads of money on bits and pieces that you don't actually really need. These days, you just need a computer and an interface maybe, and that's it, and a microphone, of course. But you don't need to spend thousands on it. Obviously, it needs to be reliable, or it's going to get really annoying. So the more money you can spend on things, the more reliable the things are going to be.
Yes.
So it's probably a reliability balance that you're looking at, not so much it's the best sounding guitar in the world. It just needs to be reliable.
Now I know you've got a new release. Is it August the 1st?
That's right. I have.
Do you want to tell us about that? There's a little
teaser.
So
that song was written a couple of years ago now, and it was recorded. Well, using this equipment, but I wasn't living here at the time. It was recorded in a different house, and it was more an electronic sort of sounding thing, as most of my stuff is now, because it's just so damn expensive to record live drums. Yeah, so that's that, and so it was actually mixed by Sam Fall, just when he moved to the US a couple of years ago. And so I'm hoping people like it when it comes out.
So that's August the 1st, and how will it be released? Will it be a download, or will you have an event to launch?
No,
it
it'll just be it'll be a download, and just the normal social media campaigns and stuff.
Yeah. So August the 1st, we'll look out for that, and obviously Dennisson on Facebook, and just search for those even on Apple Music, and you'll find that now, right?
Sure.
It's all out there. I did that earlier, and it all sounds great. Thanks for your time today, sir. I really appreciate that, and just look forward to August the 1st and some new music and everything else you're doing. Great. Thanks so much, man.
Nice one. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Tell me when I'm nothing.